In this video, I want to talk to you about the manipulator tools. In order to demonstrate this, I'm going to create a polygon primitive. So I created a cube here at the origin that I'm going to use to show it a little bit. Now you've already been introduced to one in previous videos. So if I hit the W key, this brings up the move tool. Now the move tool allows me to, as its name implies, move an object around. Now each tool has its own correlating handles and abilities. And so for the move tool, if I grab right here in the center, it moves in all directions. If I grab a handle, it will move in a single direction along a specific axis. And if I grab one of these panels, it will move in two axes at the same time. So you see when I hold it down, two of the axes turn yellow to show which two are being moved. The other keys also align to the QWERTY keys. So if you're not sure what those are, look down at your keyboard and the top row, if you look at the top row of letters, it spells QWERTY. Those are the QWERTY keys. And so you need to get in the habit of keeping one hand on the keyboard so that you can easily touch the keys with the other hand on the mouse to improve your workflow and your speed. So if I hit the Q key, that's the select mode. So I can select other places in the scene and then I can select the object. The W key is move, the E key is rotate, the R key is scale, the T key is this manipulator tool, and the Y key will pull up the last selected tool. Since the manipulator tool was the last one I selected, when I hit Y, it does the same thing. So if I select a different tool, then you'll notice if I hit Q, bounces up here, Y bounces down here, T, and the manipulator tool is back. And so get used to using those QWERTY keys. Now, each of these keys has a specific function, specific use, but they all kind of react a little bit the same. So I talked about how this moves from the center or along a specific axis. If I hit the E key for rotate, once again, if I just grab somewhere in the sphere, it rotates freely. If I grab a specific handle, it will only rotate in that single direction. Or if I grab this outer handle, it will rotate flat relative to the camera. The R key is scale, and because this is all disoriented right now, I'll step back. So once again, the undo hotkey is Control Z. So I can tap that quite a few times and bring this back to the origin. And if you're not sure where that is sometimes, if you go Edit, Undo, that's the same thing, and the hotkey is listed right next to it, so Control Z. So Control Z is going to be very useful. Please make sure you're familiar with it. But if I come here to scale, it's the same thing. The center handle scales out uniformly. A single handle will scale in a single axis, and two handles will scale along two axes at the same time. So play around and get used to exploring that. One other thing I wanted to bring up was the object versus component selection. You've already learned how to do it by holding down the right mouse key on an object. So there's object versus vertice. But if you open up the modeling toolkit, so up here on the top right where you see these 5 buttons again, that's how we reach the attribute editor. This far left one is the modeling toolkit. And so in the modeling toolkit, if I select this button, it will change to object, and this will change to the different components. So as I've stated before, there are multiple ways of accomplishing the same task within Maya. It's really up to you to explore and figure out which one is going to work best for you. So for right now, I'm going to go to component mode. And I will select a couple of components just so that I can play around. So I can scale, I can rotate, scale down again, I can move this, and you can just take some time and play around to get used to it. Now one thing I do want to point out, I'm going to switch to wireframe mode again. Previously you saw me left click and drag to marquee select. And then that allows me to manipulate and adjust those components as I want to. But there are two other tools that are here on this left side. So right here on this shelf, you notice that those buttons correlate to the select, move, rotate, scale. But there's two others right here that you can use as well. So this one is the lasso tool. And if I want to have something very specific, like I want to get just these 3, I can actually hold down the left mouse key and lasso, and it will do that lasso select. I can also do this paint select, which allows me to paint and select specific faces. So from here, continue to explore things using the move, rotate, and scale, and just take some time to play around with it. The more you have fun with it now and don't worry about making mistakes, the better off you're going to be down the road. So once again, bounce between object mode, bounce between component mode, the different types of component modes, and play around with the manipulator tools just so that you can get used to them, just so that you can get in the habit of using them.